All right, man, peace. So you know what, brothers? I'm going to start calling Michael Bennett the Tupac of the NFL. This man has a lot in common with Tupac. They both are mentally unstable, at least Tupac was, and so is Michael Bennett. They tend to speak about things that they don't know very much about. Tupac oftentimes would speak about issues pertaining to the socio-economic condition of the entire world, that he would talk about being a drug dealer and a so-called thug, and he was neither one. He was an actor. He was an actor. And I stated that a very long time ago, and Michael Bennett is an actor as well. He's someone who's trying to act as if he wants to be some form of an activist when he's just an actor in the NFL to represent the interests of the Black Lives Matter movement, which itself represents the interests of Mr. George Soros. So Michael Bennett is an agent of chaos. He's an agent of discord. That's all he is. And, you know, just like Tupac, they both appear to be under some type of mind control. And I mentioned this a long time ago when I started speaking about Michael Bennett. I told you brothers to watch him because he was going to keep popping up over and over and over again in the news. I could just tell by looking at this dude's countenance that he's not all there, man. And just like Tupac, they seem like they both suffer from some type of multiple personality disorder or dissociative identity disorder, which is consistent with the MK Ultra program. Do I believe that Michael Bennett is a monarch athlete? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. For a myriad of reasons. And just like him, just like Tupac, they're both all over the place, man. And they love attention. So we'll see if he meets a rather ignominious end like Tupac did. But every week I'm hearing about this guy, Michael Bennett. And to be quite frank with you, he's not worth all the drama. First, it was him claiming that the cops threatened to shoot him in Las Vegas. That ended up being a hoax. Last week, he's talking about Russell Wilson and speaking about how you need to have a bunch of thugs on your team. No, that was the mentality that you seem to have in Seattle, which is why your team imploded, dude. You don't seem very swift. And now all of a sudden, this indictment is coming down about him allegedly physically assaulting two female employees of NRG Stadium in the aftermath of the Super Bowl. 2 Super Bowls to go. Just all over the place with this guy. But anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Eagle star defensive player Michael Bennett has been indicted for a bizarre incident that took place at last year's Super Bowl. It's really, really crazy stuff. Facing up to 10 years in jail. Welcome back to TMZ.
And he's not going to get 10 years in jail. All he's going to have to do is pay them a settlement, and it'll go away. But it's very interesting that this comes out over a year after the fact, over a year after it occurred. So possibly this could be for publicity from some of his backers, but I doubt that. Because I would believe that it was for publicity if it was 2 white employees, but it's 1 black and 1 white. And the so-called black woman is a paraplegic. He just doesn't seem to be all there, man. And I told you, brothers, that from the very start that they started to put the camera in front of this guy's face.
TMZ Sports Van here with Michael J. Babcock.
What's up, V?
Mike, tell us what's going on with Michael Bennett.
Absolutely crazy story. So a grand jury today in Texas, Van, indicted, charged Michael Bennett with having pushed a 66-year-old paraplegic woman, injuring her, and like you said, faces up to 10 years in jail if convicted for this incident. It's pretty crazy. Happened in February of 2017. That was at Super Bowl 51 in Texas at NRG Stadium, where Michael's brother was obviously a member of the New England Patriots.
Another seemingly mentally detached dude, Martellus Bennett. Something's going on with these 2 guys, brothers. Watch these 2 guys, all right? Some people out there might be saying, oh, well, why are you saying that? You're going to... Watch these 2 dudes, man. Martellus and Michael Bennett. Watch these 2 guys. Because they clearly, to me, have been put through some type of MK Ultra programming or Monarch Butterfly programming. Just my view of it. The way that they both come off as being extremely mentally detached, the media goes out of its way to always put a camera in their face and give them exposure. And this guy, Michael Bennett, all of a sudden is trying to act as if he's some type of freedom fighter. And he wouldn't know the foggiest idea. He wouldn't have the foggiest idea on where to start or where to end with that. He's just another bugged out liberal black internet revolutionary looking for a hug from the white man. That's about it.
Patriots, Martellus, and they won the Super Bowl. After the Patriots won the game, cops say that Michael Bennett tried to gain entry to the field where Michael was allegedly stopped by some NRG Stadium employees. And just take a look at what the cops said. It's absolutely wild.
Bennett disregarded Officer Morgan, you, and walked past him on the field. Mr. Bennett also, after pushing the females, both the 28-year-old white female and the 66-year-old paraplegic black female, stated to them, "You all must know who I am, and I can own this."
If he truly said that, all that does is verify what I've been stating about Michael Bennett for the longest time, which is that he's not all there upstairs. For him to say, "Y'all must not know who I am, I can own this." Nigga, you can't own a damn thing. If he truly said that. You damn sure can't own the stadium. You just some homeless looking dude who could play football for now. All I know is he better ball out with the Philadelphia Eagles, or he's going to find himself out of a job. And let me say this about the situation that befell Michael Bennett in Las Vegas, where he alleged that a cop put a gun to his head and told him, "If you move, I'm going to kill you," and all that nonsense when he was on the ground like a bitch talking about, my kids, I just want to see my kids." That whole situation was fishy to me from the very start. I still believe that there was something very rotten in Denmark in regards to how that entire situation transpired. Just seemed very strange to me that out of all people, they earmarked him. He was the only one who was running in a haphazard manner. He claimed that it was racial profiling. How could it be racial profiling when almost everyone else in the club or the casino at that time or that location, wherever it was, seemed to be a person of color or so-called black person as well. So they just happened to track him down and orchestrate that event to once again push his name into national prominence. Very similar to how Mr. LeBron James alleged that someone spray painted his front gate at his Brentwood home with the word nigger. I stated at the time I thought it was a hoax. It's been almost a year now. No leads. No one has been detained. No convictions. No nothing. No video footage of the event occurring. So once again, brothers, LeBron James, Michael Bennett, pawns for the Black Lives Matter movement, which has a lot of tentacles that many so-called black people are not aware of because they have many affiliations that many so-called black people are not aware of. That's why I try to warn you, brothers, about some of these more prominent so-called black athletes and their libertarian leanings, super liberal leanings, and the fact that they're not worried about, or nor do they care about, mentally manipulating the masses of so-called black people in this society to make them think whatever they want them to think for the quote-unquote greater good. It doesn't matter to them if they have to lie. To them, the ends justify the means. Very Machiavellian. So please be aware of people like Michael Bennett. This guy's a charlatan. Once again, it would not shock me if this situation right here with these two females at NRG Stadium is a concoction just to keep his name out there. Who knows? Not saying that it necessarily is, but it would not shock me. I'm just going to watch the situation as it proceeds along.
Going onto the field, whether you like it or not, and those are quotes.
Wow.
Yeah.
We should say these are all allegations against Michael Bennett.
Right.
The formal charge is injury to the elderly, including intentionally and knowingly causing bodily injury to a person 65 years or older.
Yeah.
So
we should also say, though, that, and this is just the cops saying that, but they say they had an officer that was on the field that actually witnessed this happen. It wasn't only, according to the cops, that Michael Bennett pushed the woman in the wheelchair. I guess he tried to push his way through 3 employees, and one of those employees was a woman in the wheelchair. It wasn't a traditional wheelchair. It was a big motorized wheelchair. It did not fall over, but he apparently got her shoulder and kind of torqued her around and hurt her. She required medical attention, doctor's medicine, and whatnot. But
now, I'm going to say some things here, okay?
Yeah.
Well, you know what, Van Lathan, before you say some things, I'm going to say some things. Once again, if this storyline is on the up and up, I expect him to settle out of court as soon as possible, because this is a very embarrassing story for a full-grown man to be pushing around a woman in a wheelchair and another female just because they're trying to stop him from getting onto the field. Maybe he'll try to spin it and claim that he was the victim of racism. Who knows? Certain people are desperate to be the victims of racism. Certain people are desperate to be victims, period, so that they can get attention. That's why I state that the manner in which people like Michael Bennett, Colin Kaepernick, LeBron James are trying to call attention to the so-called racial issues in America, they're not manly at all. There's no three-dimensional thinking that's being involved. There's no high-level cognitive function. They have no plan. They have no nothing. They're just looking for attention like little chicks, man. Like little bitches. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And we'll see. I'm definitely going to be watching to see how and analyze how this entire storyline transpires. Because it would not be surprising to me at all if this was just another ploy to keep his name in the media for this oncoming season and certain plans that they may have for Mr. Michael Bennett. And when I say they, I mean his benefactors, his sponsors, the Black Lives Matter movement, and whatever other institution is backing him. Because the way that he is just shot to relative prominence, speaking about society and societal issues, really with no understanding and no grasp, but he keeps getting exposure. It would just seem to me that there are people helping him. As a matter of fact, it's obvious to me that there are people helping him in a Machiavellian way, not in an obvious way, but in a Machiavellian way, putting him in positions where he can garner some type of acclaim or attention for him being part and parcel to an overall agenda that they're trying to utilize in the NFL, which is to destroy the fabric of the NFL, which is based around the conservative aspect of America, and try to liberalize the NFL. That's what I've been telling you guys the plan was with Colin Kaepernick. Ab ordo chaos, order out of chaos.
Yeah.
Number one, obviously, you don't know whether or not this is true or not. You don't know. It's a charge right now and everything. Mike Bennett has the
He deserves his day in court.
Deserves his day in court. There are some people who think the fact that this is filed 1 year later, it has to do with the reputation that Michael Bennett is sort of getting around league circles and in the culture as being someone who is challenging authority and, quite frankly, challenging the white establishment. He has a book.
I don't understand what culture is stating these things in regards to why Michael Bennett is now being put right in front of the crosshairs of the legal system. I don't know what culture you're talking about. You're talking about hip-hop culture. You're talking about so-called black culture. You're talking about liberal black culture. You're talking about the internet revolutionary culture, a.k.a. black Twitter or woke black Twitter. Those morons who clickety-clack on the internet all day and talk about cultural appropriation and blah, 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 and Black Lives Matter, but they'll be the same ones that will advocate for the black woman's right to have abortions. You talking about those people? And look, I know I'm going to upset certain people with that, but that's okay. I have certain videos coming down the pike in regards to that issue because that does have to be addressed. But no, Michael Bennett is not a threat to the white establishment at all. All he is someone who's out to annoy and troll so-called Caucasians and troll the so-called status quo of the NFL and act as if he is upset with Caucasians when he's not. As I told you, brothers, from the very inception of my channel, behind the woke Negro is the liberal Caucasian, particularly the liberal Caucasian Jew. That's who's putting the battery in his back, as we're going to see in a moment.
Book coming out called Things That Make White People Uncomfortable.
Right.
Now look at this. This fool has a book coming out called Things That Make White People Uncomfortable. It has Michael Bennett in big letters, but then when you look along the right-hand side, it says, and Dave Zirin in smaller letters. Why is that? Because Dave Zirin is a Caucasian Jew who actually wrote the book. But they want to attribute it to Michael Bennett because, once again, they're trying to advance Michael Bennett's profile because he's being used as a pawn to promote liberalism, particularly in the NFL, and hopefully it will have a trickle-down effect into everyday society. That's why I tell you so-called black men to not involve yourself with many of these liberal movements because they only want to use you. They put Michael Bennett's face on the cover of the book, but he had very little to do with writing it. It was written by that man, Dave Zirin, who is a Caucasian Jew. Okay? It's the same ploy they've been using on the so-called black man for well over 100 years in this society. And they keep falling for it. You know why? Because underneath all that bluff and that fluff from Michael Bennett underneath that big beard. He just wants the white man to give him a hug. And I promise you that's all he wants. Niggas like him, they don't want their own country. They don't want their own society. They don't want things to be done in an orderly fashion. All he wants is for the so-called white man to hug him. Because if he disliked Caucasian people that bad, he wouldn't have had a Caucasian Jew write the book and put his face on the cover. And look at the title of the book. Let me pan my camera up a little bit. Things that make white people uncomfortable. Now, what type of idiot would write a book with a title like that? Why are you concerned about what makes white people uncomfortable? He didn't write a book. These are the things that so-called black people need to do. The book is titled Things That Make White People Uncomfortable. So what does that tell you? The white man is at the forefront of his mind. The white man and the white woman are at the forefront of his mind. That's all he's concerned about. Because he wouldn't have the foggiest idea what to tell so-called black people because he's too dumb to know.
And there's some thought that particularly there could be a target on Michael Bennett's back.
He did have that incident in Las Vegas where Michael Bennett said that he was profiled and, he was handcuffed and searched after people thought there was a shooting. Turned out there actually wasn't a shooting, but he did have that incident with cops. I don't...
My kids, I just want to see my kids. Just like Tupac had that event where they claimed that he shot 2 cops. Remember that? When they were building up his cult of personality? He claimed Tupac shot 2 cops and got away with it. Oh, boy. I'm going to do a video on Tupac very soon. Very soon. Tupac was a Luciferian, for those of you who don't know. He was part of the great work. And they removed him when they were done with him. Some people say he's not really dead. I don't really care about that. To me, a lot of these people, they're low-level pawns. When I say that people are Luciferians and that they're part of the great work, it doesn't mean that they're at the highest levels. It just means that they're pawns. A lot of them are MK Ultra monarch programmed, meaning they're not even in control a lot of times of what they're doing. Some of them are Manchurian candidates, meaning they can receive a phone call or speak to someone and that person say something to them and it initializes a program in one of their altars. They receive a phone call from a manager, quote unquote, who oftentimes are these people's MK handlers, and the manager will utter a phrase and then they'll head off to propagate whatever the agenda is. That's how it works. A lot of these people are flesh and blood androids. But this is why I told you, brothers, when Michael Bennett first popped on the scene, to watch him, because his face was just off to me, man. His countenance is off. You can tell that something is not really functioning properly upstairs.
I don't know if this matters.
Very, very vocal.
Yes,
very, very vocal.
Look, I don't know if this matters. You tell me if this matters at all, Van, in your mind. The woman, the paraplegic woman, was a black woman. I don't know if that has anything to do with this.
It was interesting that the officers kind of pointed out the races of all the particular people as they were writing the story down.
Yes, it was important for them to do so, for them to establish that, no, we're not picking on Michael Bennett. This is not a race thing, at least from the exterior. Or maybe that's part of how they want this narrative to transpire, to make it look like Michael Bennett is just out of control. We'll see. We're going to find out the particulars as this goes along. But do I think that Michael Bennett's going to do any time for this? No, I do not. I think he's going to end up paying off both those clients. I just want to hear what his side of the story is going to be, and if they have any footage. I always look for footage because we live in a surveillance age. So it's going to be hard for me to believe that in the aftermath of the Super Bowl, they don't have any camera footage of this event transpiring. That will go a long way in clearing Michael Bennett, is if they're able to provide some video footage that would exonerate him. But I would have a hard time believing that the cops would hold a press conference like this and they would bring forth an indictment without any video evidence whatsoever, just based off of word of mouth accusations. That doesn't make any sense to me, or that wouldn't make any sense to me.
I felt like that was done so that people would have an understanding that there were some black alleged victims in here.
They are kind of the cops in a way are fighting or taking a stand for this black woman who was hurt. I don't know if they believe that looked better.
Why you say it like that?
What?
Black. Why you say it like
black woman? Beautiful.
You said black. Like.
Now you see the liberal Negro at the top left, Van Lathan. he understands and he sees that this does not look good for Michael Bennett, so he's trying to digress into his normal silly race banter with Babcock at the bottom, talking about why he said black woman like that. Point being is this: Michael Bennett is a wild card, and it's going to be interesting to see where they take his narrative, because they're struggling to get Kaepernick back into the NFL. That's not going to happen. Kaepernick was supposed to be the primary agent that they used to bring about quote-unquote change, i.e. chaos. And by the way, when they say change, they mean chaos. Like when Obama ran on the campaign, a change you can believe in, it's talking about chaos. That's why during his tenure as president, what did he do? He advanced transgenderism, he advanced homosexuality, things of that nature. Making sure that the woman was over the man. These were many of the agendas of the Obama administration. So when these little pawn black athletes in the NFL or the NBA talk about how they're there to make change, they're talking about bring chaos, because they don't even know what a society's supposed to look like. That's why when you see the Never Again movement, what are they utilizing? They're utilizing children, because they're there once again looking for attention. It's all meant to be a distraction. And when I say a distraction, I'm not talking about how certain people might say it from a crisis actor or everything is a hoax type of perspective. I mean, just utilizing misdirection. Get you concentrating on this right here while they pass this bill or that executive order, etc. That's really all it's about. It's not really that deep where they have to have crisis actors utilized all the time. As I said in another video, are there crisis actors? Absolutely. Are there hoaxes that are perpetuated on the populace? Absolutely. For example, LeBron James's house allegedly getting spray painted with the word nigger, with this idiot Michael Bennett claiming that the cops threatened to shoot him. This right here might be a hoax. Who knows? I need to see some corroboration. I need to see some type of circumstantial evidence to prove that this event actually occurred first. But it wouldn't shock me, because this guy's all over the place. He's bugged out of his damn mind.
Like that. So black lady. You say black lady.
Black lady.
Yeah, it sounds bad. Don't say that anymore. You're relegated to African American now. You have to use or Nubian queen when you're referring to one.
Yes, another simp.
One of our sisters. Anyway, very serious situation.
It is. It's crazy. And the Eagles just signed this guy, and about 2 weeks later, they're dealing with this, and this guy is possibly facing 10 years in prison.
Yeah.
We will follow this the whole way along.
Well, now we see why the Seattle Seahawks got rid of him. Maybe they knew about this. Maybe they knew that this was coming down the pike. Please understand that many NFL teams have investigative detectives on their payroll to look into things like this, to see what their athletes are doing or any potential pending charges or things of that nature. So that's one of the reasons why they got rid of him. I think that you'll see a better Seattle Seahawks team this year. They might not have a better record, but there will be better synergy on that team, because they will have gotten rid of some of the agents of chaos that were dragging them down or trying to. But anyway, peace.